Hey folks, I just wanted to come back after the Ask Me Anything video where I was talking about strategies for studying and note taking and things like that, and show you guys some examples. So here it goes. Bless you, Joey. So first I am going to show you what I mean by annotating and writing on your readings. Again, you can do this on, you don't have to print them out to have this done. You can definitely annotate on Adobe or however you read your PDFs. I just find doing it on paper to be easier. So highlighting obviously is useful. Underlining does the same thing. Sometimes I will chunk some quotes or some piece that's really important instead of having to highlight the whole thing. A really useful hint is I'll have little arrows right off to the side that I will note that's like, hey, like this is the summary here. This is what you should remember. Or like this is how it connects to what we're talking about in this other thing. So you can see here that I have made like a little timeline. This article is looking at capitalism over time in the US and how that relates to the prison population. So this is like a little timeline of showing how what they're looking at, right? And I have a little summary here that's like, hey, this is what they're saying, right? Consolidation equals economic boom equals, which leads to decay, which equals economic recession, which leads to exploration, which leads to development of new technology, and then that leads all the way back up to the top, right? So I'm drawing out the little cycle here instead of having to read everything all over again. Again, here I'm drawing out little arrows to the side of what I've underlined and just sort of telling myself quickly, hey, this is what this is saying. Okay, so here are some of my reading notes. These are from grad school. It's a book I had to read in grad school called Reintegrative Shaming. It's one of my favorite criminology texts. So what I've done here is it's a book, and I do these so that I don't have to read the book again or the article when I want to reflect back on it. If I'm going to use something like that again in the future, I will make these notes so that I only really have to read it once, or maybe twice. You can see that this first page here is really just me doing a summary of the theory as a whole, right? Then here come my notes, and I get that this is a little bit crazy. There are 30 pages here, but it's summarizing an entire book, so keep that in mind. I'm not expecting you to take 30 pages of notes on the articles that we're reading for class. But what I've done is I've taken each chapter, right, and I use the same headlines or the same like little headings that are in the book or article itself. So it'll tell me where to look back to if something in my notes doesn't make sense to me later. I just make notes, right, about what I'm reading, what it says, right, some basic notes here. Again, see, this is why I really like to do handwritten things, because I can draw all these arrows that I like to draw. Right, and I'll tell myself to look back, right? First underline quote, page 16. So that way I don't have to write the whole quote down in my notes. Lots of cool doodles too, apparently. Right, and it just helps me. I like to write things down like this just because I can organize it in the way that I like to. I really like to do these boxes with arrows. It's like, hey, this leads to this, which leads to this, which leads to this. Right, and that tends to be really helpful for a lot of these sociological texts that we'll be reading, right? Because a lot of things are sort of cause and effect. So that helps me sort of see the process there. And again, you'll notice I'm using the same headers, right, that are in the text. Again, this is like a way to sort of reflect and just helping me organize my notes. So again, my little arrows. I love me some arrows. And finally, a throwback from my notebooks from undergrad. So this is my 290 notebook from undergrad where, so that's sociological theory was the first one that you take, for those of you who don't know what 290 is. And so these are like my notes from class, right? So I'll talk about, I might write like, oh, this is the example that they used, right? And then maybe a little brief explanation of the example, but that'll normally jog my memory. Right. So again, see, I'm not writing down everything that the professor was saying. And this is a timeline, so that's a little bit different. Right, and again, we're making doodles. I don't mind all my doodles. All right, again, more arrows. A good theory should be able to be broken down in like a sort of graphical representation. Right, here we go. Right, so I'll make a note that's like, hey, we watched that video of Apple, right? And we talked about how we can see these 3 things within that video. Adam Smith. Right, and I'll draw myself little pictures so I can be sort of succinct, because it's sort of easier for me to draw things like that than it is for me to always write it all out. But it might be different for you. So again, we just have all these little, these little doodles. And again, it's just, and a lot of the reasons why I do things like this, right, my little stick people, is that it's just easier, right? So that to me, I think, means like, hey, when we're interacting with each other, this is what blah, 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 right? So instead of having to write through human interaction, right, I can just draw that picture. It's just faster for me to draw that little picture. Here's another thing that I like to do frequently when I'm taking notes, especially in class, is that you'll see here, right, I start by writing out Marx, his full name. But after that, since this whole class period was on Marx, I just start using a capital M instead. Again, because I'm handwriting it, so I need it to be quick. Right, so I abbreviate things a lot, right? I'll draw out like little symbols, right, things like that. So whatever shorthands I can come up with right before, right, G, I'm talking about Germany because he was from Germany. But like if I'm looking through it, right, then I know what G stands for, right, because G was the last European country, Euro country, to enter industrialization in the late 1800s, before Germany was agrarian, right, so I have all of these little things that I'll do, right. Germany was divided, see my division sign, religiously between Catholicism and Protestantism, like that's what that is. I know it stands for Protestant. Right, the only thing they could agree on was they didn't like the Jewish people. And there's this long heritage of anti-Semitism in Germany. Right, so all of these little shorthand things that I will do, just to be able to sort of jot things down as quickly as possible. I hope that is something that is helpful to at least some of you. If it is, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. And I hope that's something that you can take from this class moving forward.